All right, in case you haven't met me before, my name's Emma, and I'm a Customer Onboarding Specialist here at SmartSuite. So we're going to use the dashboard today just to do a quick introduction. This is the dashboard. I've embedded a presentation because I always use SmartSuite for, gotta repeat the template names. So it is Program Management Office and Objectives and Key Results. I'll just type them for you. Key results. All right. Hopefully everyone got those. And I'll download them again just so we can understand. All right, so very quick, I want to introduce the resources we have available here at SmartSuite. So we have our community. That's a great way to learn about best practices, tool tips, and communicate with not only our user base, but also our partners. So if you have some specific use case you're looking to accomplish, that's a really good way to ask and explore our product updates as well. Our academy is a great way to have instructor-led self-serve videos for features, for specific functionalities in SmartSuite, even to the higher level automations and formulas. So that is a great way to get started and start mastering different features in SmartSuite. And then our LinkedIn is a good way to stay up to date with community news as well as product updates. So we regularly post events such as this, features that are being released on a daily basis. And then we have a lot of live training sessions, live support, and webinars that we host similar to this one. So our daily office hours is actually a live session for you to meet with a product specialist like myself, and we will go through the room, answer questions. Feel free to join in just to listen and see how other people are using SmartSuite. Our live webinars, and you can scan the QR codes here, but there are live sessions such as this one, exploring use cases, going over product updates, some partner spotlights as well. So if this QR code will lead you to the upcoming webinars. And more formally, we have a monthly training class for you you have the opportunity to get certified at the end of class. But this is a more deep dive into the specific functionalities of SmartSuite, starting from beginner level and up to more of an advanced level. So there's two parts to that. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Hopefully everyone has the template downloaded. So just to clarify, it's in the template gallery, and you can type in Program Management Office, as well as the objectives and key results. So I'm going to go into this solution. If you aren't familiar with a solution, it helps you manage a project, process, or workflow in your company. And then these tabs here are called tables, and this allows you to, they're essentially databases with field types, and this allows you to track different information about the process. So if you go into a table, I'll go into a grid view here. We can see that there are records, so this is pieces of data, as well as the types of data that you're tracking about the item. So in this case, we have programs, which are like the overarching big bucket item, with it projects inside of the programs. So we have a variety of projects associated with the marketing transformation program. And then we have tasks associated with projects. So we're creating these relationships through a linked record field. So I'll go into that. Right now, I'm just giving you an overview of the solution template before we start to build the dashboard, because the dashboard is like the final thing you accomplish after you have your data structure set. The dashboard allows you to actually create visualizations on that data. So the linked record is a field type. And I've done this by just adding a linked record here. And the template will actually have this all set up for you. But in order to do that, just for future reference, you can link the table to projects right there. And we'll go ahead and create the relationship between tasks and projects. So you can see high level, the different tasks associated with the project. If we go on to here, we can see this is group by program, and then task group by particular project. On the left-hand side here, we have views that allow you to visualize data in different ways. Now, the dashboard view is actually a view type. When creating a dashboard, and I have a couple set up here, there is one set up for you before the template, but we're actually going to go in to build one today. The view, you can access and create a dashboard by selecting this button here that says Create New View. And you can go ahead and select Dashboard here. So it's important to title your dashboard. In this case, I'm just going to call it Dashboard for now. And then you can determine if you want it to be private or public, but I recommend you do public for now. So before I get started on building this with you, I would like to understand the types of things that are important to people when they're managing projects. Let me give you an example. Let me give you an example about what type of visualization you may want to see. Potentially the open projects, account of the open projects, tasks by owner, open tasks in general. So if everyone or a handful of you could put in the chat the different types of items you're looking to manage within projects, whether it's an actual project or just a company level, what's important for you to see big picture in your company. And this can be like from the objectives and key results perspective, what's important for you to see as far as budgeting, as far as overall cost reductions. So if we could get some ideas in the chat, I want to customize the widget based on what people are wanting to see, and we can create the dashboard based on what the audience is asking for. So I'll wait just a second. Gantt charts, yeah, I'll send you the webinar link, but this is focused on dashboards today. Okay. Yeah, I'll just let the chat come through and then we will go through and we will actually start to build all of these. Any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A just so we can. Okay. Yep, just to fill you in, we're downloading the program management office solution and the objectives and key results. Okay. Looks like we have a ton here. All right, so I will start at the top. Tasks that are assigned versus not assigned. Interesting. That's a good one. Okay, so let's get going. I'm going to make this actually in the projects table. So everyone go ahead and go into the projects table here. Click into here and we'll go ahead and create a new view. So this view is going to be called dashboard. So you can give it a name. I'm going to call it project dashboard. So you can be whatever you want it to be. All right, so how we build the dashboard is through custom widgets. So we can select add widget and you'll see a variety of different widget types. So it's important to understand when you should use different types of widgets and then to understand what a good layout looks like for dashboard. I'll present today some best practices for that. We're looking at the number of tasks that are assigned versus not assigned. So I would recommend using a comparison metric, which essentially can be a numeric field as well. So everyone go ahead and click onto the comparison metric and we will do tasks assigned right there. And we can even do this in a chart view as well. So we'll do both right now. So as you can see, we're actually able to pull widgets from other solutions, which we'll do in a little bit. But for now, we're going to make sure it's the Program Management Office. And I retitled it. You should be in the Program Management Office. And then if you go under projects, we'll actually want to pull data from the tasks. So the tasks live in the task table. So that is where we will be working in the table. Now the metric value will just want the specific task because this is the value we're counting up, and then the filter will allow us to create that by assigned versus not assigned. So you can actually, if you get rid of the date to compare field here, it'll just give you a count. So that's important to know. I oftentimes see people are curious why there's this % change. They just want to count. The trick is to just get rid of that date to compare, and that will be an actual count. Now, if you go into the filter, we can see that this has to do with assignment. We create assignments in SmartSuite through the assigned to field. So in this case, we would want where the assigned to field is not empty, meaning that these 9 tasks were assigned. Okay, hopefully everyone followed that. So assigned to is not empty. This means that someone has in fact been assigned through the assigned to field. So we'll go ahead and add that widget. And I like to keep the numeric ones at the top here. Now let's go into our projects. I'm actually going to unassign 2 tasks just so we can see a better visualization of when we create the unassigned tasks. So same thing, go ahead and you may have to toggle this just because we have view versus edit. Go ahead and add the widget, same thing, comparison metric, and we'll title as tasks unassigned. You can go in, same thing, make sure you select the task table, and then you can go into metric value, be same thing, task, get rid of the dates to compare, and then we can go ahead and create the filter as well. So it would be where the assigned to is empty, which I think I need to update. Okay. Yeah, I didn't do it in the task. There we go. So remove the assigned to field in the task table, not the project table. So now you'll be able to see, let's make sure I did it right. Okay. And then we'll go back to our dashboard here. There we go, 2. Okay. So now we have in the task table 2 tasks that are unassigned, and now we have 7 tasks that are assigned. Okay. So hopefully, Amanda, that clarified that question. Now we will do, I'm just trying to think of numeric value. That would be good to add here. Let's actually go ahead and add a chart. I'll start in order, so task by assignee and ownership. Okay, so toggle this back on and we're going to add a widget. We're going to add, let's do a column chart. So let's call this task by assignee. And if we go into our task table here, we can do same thing, values, going to be the task. And then in order to get that by feature, we need to just group it by the assigned to. So right now everything's assigned to me, but I'm actually going to go ahead and fix that by going into the task and starting to assign other people to these tasks. So I'm going to go ahead and assign Brian, I'm going to assign Peter, and I'm going to assign SmartSuite support there. Okay, so if we go back, we'll start to see these visualizations of other tasks assigned to other people. Now, remember, this is a drag and drop experience, so you can customize how this looks. Maybe you want to use a different type of chart. You can absolutely do that by going into the settings if you like something more like the bar chart, which I think maybe looks better. Okay, we'll leave that one for now. And status. So that's always a good one to have on a dashboard. I'm going to actually add like an overall project status one. And then we of course can have tasks, but more importantly, we may want to see the overarching status for all the projects cumulatively, not just the tasks. So in here, we'll go ahead and actually select tab projects, not tasks anymore. And then the values is just going to be the project name. So if you go ahead, it's going to show a lot of different, these are just the names, in which then we'll need to create that group by. So right now we'll group it by status. So now we can see a variety of different status fields. You can customize what exactly these status fields are by just going into the settings. So let's go ahead and add this widget now. Now we have a pie chart. I'm going to say projects by status. So something important to note, maybe it's not important to see the number of completed projects. So this is when we want to dive into something like the filter. And we can say where the status is not complete. So it's not important for us to know that it's been completed. And we can actually go ahead and do that. Or maybe we want to see open projects by status. And I don't want to see requested or complete or rejected. So I only want to see ones that have been approved in process or blocked. So I can actually do that there. So now I have 3 status fields here. Okay, let me just make sure. Label the pie at the bottom. See, customizations. You can add a chart total, but I don't know about the customization there. Okay. Let's Let's go back to our summary of projects for individuals. Yes, so we can create, I would probably recommend, so in our projects table, we can see percent complete. We can see specific visualizations on a phase. And we may need to do a little bit more building for that one. I'm going to go ahead and just go into the dashboard again. And let's play around with the different widgets we have for that feature. Column chart, I'm going to go into the percent complete. Let's actually go into we can group by project. So let's do percent complete. So the project's percent complete, and we can group it by the project name. So this would actually probably be a good idea, and we could filter out the ones that are not complete. So this is basically projects by percent complete. And then we would want to filter where the percent complete is less than 100. Okay, so it's only going to show ones there. All right. So now we have something that looks like this, and we'll want to move back. I like to keep the numeric values there. Okay, so let's get another comparison metric up here, or a progress metric. So I'm going to actually go ahead and add, let's do projects, and then you can go into maybe total costs tasks this quarter. So this is, let's call this total billable. And then importantly, you can actually create a time frame. So a date to compare, you can say like when it was first created from a due date. I'm going to leave it just as this because I was building. I just downloaded this template. So we can create visualizations from like a budgeting perspective. Okay, invoicing, yeah, similar to that, we would just do a status field of the invoicing. Budget spend per month, and I like that one. So we can go ahead and just do, so that one actually is an interesting one. So I would recommend for that, I would recommend doing, let's test this out, a formula to indicate the month from the due date. So if we go into the due date, we'll want to show, month of due date. So I'm creating a formula just to show the month of the due date. And then that's what I'll be grouping by. And I can actually have it show, I can create another formula to show like the actual, if it's 1, it's going to be January, all of that. But for now, I'll just leave it at the numerical value. And I'm actually going to go ahead and create a column chart for that as well. So I'm going to say budget spend per month. Okay. So I'm going to go budget, and I'm going to group by month. Okay. And we can ensure that the status, it would actually probably be costs budget. Okay. And interestingly enough, we actually haven't got into this quite yet, but we can actually have a differential. So we can say budget versus budget remaining. So this could be interesting. I tend to like using a stacked bar chart just to see budget versus budget remaining. And we'll actually go ahead and do that right now. Let's get rid of this one so we can see budget spend per month right here. Okay. For how many projects are completed, and if the percent of the tasks are complete, and if not, what percent of the tasks are complete? Okay, so that's a good one. Let's go ahead and do comparison metric. We will call this projects completed. We can do just the project name, and we can do where the status is at. However, we can also do percent complete. Let's do this. We probably need to create another field for the percent incomplete. but let's try and do a column chart. We'll do projects percent complete group by the actual project. And then we can see that this is what we did before, but how many projects are completed, you can actually, so one, you create the comparison metric for completed projects. And you can actually have a benchmark line for, okay, the number is 100, this is completed projects. Or you can filter it out. So we'll do that there. Okay, let's see where we're at now. I'm going through the messages from the top. So I'll slow down and I'll just read through them now. And yes, this is recorded for sure. Okay, so it looks like we're not seeing the assign to filter. You can actually just add an assign to field there. And maybe it's because it's titled project manager. In the solution template, we titled the project manager to be the assign to field. So that could be why. Yes, thank you, Dave, for doing that. Okay, perfect. Okay, so does anyone have any questions about what we did so far? We'll go on the Q&A as well. Okay, so questions about the coloring? Yes, we can absolutely do that. So if you go into a project dashboard, we can go into settings here and we can actually change the color right here of the pie at the bottom. As far as budgeting, I think I added this field. I used a currency field here and I just typed in budget and then I put in a budget for each project. Sizing of text, that would be an interesting feature request. And yes, we can definitely support a small business budget. So we have a template called, I believe it's, oh, budget, yeah. Yeah, so we have a couple budgeting ones. Plans and budget would be a good one. Small business budget would be a good template for that. The color of the selected fields is actually the color of the status fields that you've selected here. So it'll be the same color that you have here. So now that I think we went through most of the questions here, aside from some feature requests, which we'll get to in a little bit. Let's go into some more powerful features and dashboards. So if you go into, let's dive into an actual dashboard again. So this is when we're going to start to use the connection across solutions. So we have the objectives and key results solution here. So I've created a dashboard and key results. Now, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a relationship between key results and our programs or projects. So how I do that, let's actually create a dashboard here. And we will add the widget to be, so in this case, we'll have the solution to be objectives and key results. And the value we can have as the title. So key result, in this case, we can group by the programs. So how did I get this? I actually created a linked relationship between the key results and the programs from the other solution. So let's do this together. If we go into create a linked record, so in this case, I created it already, but let's go ahead and create it now. I'm going to add a linked record field from the other solution. So we're going to call it program. And I'm going to locate the solution that we created. So I'm going to call it, I'm going to find it right now. It's called programs. So I titled this PMO dashboard workshop. It's called Program Management Office. And we're going to create that linked relationship. So we can determine, are there multiple programs that are a part of this key result, or are there just one? In this case, I'm going to keep it at just one. So we'll go ahead and add that linked record. I'm going to delete it because I already have it here. When you start to add these programs, you'll see you'll be able to select them from the program management solution. So why this is important is when you create these dashboards, you can actually pull data from other solutions. So how I did this was I actually went, let's go into the settings here. I grouped by the programs. Now, what if I actually want to put in a widget from another solution, such as a chart or anything like that? I can go ahead and access the other solution directly. So I can go into the solution, the other solution. Maybe I want to see, oh, PMO, there we go. Maybe I want to see high-level programs and the percent complete grouped by the project or program name. There we go. I can do that. So I can do percent complete by program. This is pulling data from the other solution. This is a very powerful feature that's unique to SmartSuite, being able to pull data from other solutions and creating a visualization on top of it. So having a dashboard that pulls data from multiple different places to display in one location here. We do a dashboard to show outside as a view. I would outside as a view. I'm not sure what you mean there. Like you could create a table that's called dashboard and just create the dashboard in that table. I'm not sure if that answers your question. Okay, so I'm going to actually, so we created that widget. I'm going to show you a couple more interesting things as far as budgeting and creating some of the dashboards for budgeting, because I know we had a lot of questions on that one. So let's go into, did I create this yesterday? Yes, okay. So we're going to add a couple fields here. Yeah, please feel free to continue to put your questions or comments in the chat. We can circle back, we can add more widgets that you're interested in. Or I'm also curious if you're building dashboards yourself and you need some help on what widget to use or how to set it up. I'm also very happy to go through that if we want to take individual questions. Okay, so what we can do today, right now, is actually create a budget field. So let's go ahead and create a budget. We're going to do a couple more advanced functions just for those of you who are more advanced in the formula perspective. So let's go ahead and add a budget. I'll give everyone a moment. This is just a currency field here. So we're going to do this in the projects table. So it should be currency right there. Now we already have our link to task. So let's display that there just so we can see it. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go into task and we're going to allow the ability to see how much these tasks cost and compare them against the budget. So what I've done is I've added a time tracking log field here. So everyone go ahead and add time tracking log field. And then I also have a link to the task owner. So reason being is we need to see how much it costs for this particular person to work on the task. So I've made a listing of staffing. And what I've done, if you go into the staffing and teams solution or sorry, table, you can add a billable rate. So go ahead and add a currency field here. And we will title it billable rate. Just to backtrack, we have budget and projects, which is a currency field. We have the billable rate for staffing, and you can go ahead and add a couple test values just to see here. And then lastly, we'll go into tasks and we'll just ensure we have a relationship. You may have to add it. So in this case, we will just do a linked record field, and we will link, we'll call this the task owner, and it's pulling from the staffing and teams. This allows us to pull data from the staffing and teams, meaning we need to know their billable rate, and then we can create the cost of the task. So just ensure we have the time tracking log, we have the billable rate, and then we have the linked relationship to the task owner. Is everyone with me? Now that we have that, we can go ahead and determine the cost of the task. And I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this formula for everyone, just to keep it much easier. Ensure that you title these the same, because the formula is not going to work if you don't, just because of the title names. Go ahead, everyone, and create a formula field here. Go into Advanced Editor. And I will provide everyone with the formula for us to add. So what the formula is doing is it's just this round function is just allowing it to be a whole number. But we are using the value from the task owner. The period indicates what particular field from the task owner solution or table we're pulling. So we're wanting the billable rate to be the value we're looking for. And then we're just multiplying it by the time tracking log. It's divided by 3,600 just because it's in seconds. So we're multiplying the rate times the time they've worked from the task owner. Let me know if everyone's gotten the formula field pasted into a formula. Okay. Oh no, pasted. The 2 is for just a rounding purpose. So decimals, if I want to do 0, I can do that. And it will actually just round it to the 0 place. But if I want 2 decimals, I can do 2. It's basically the number of decimals. Okay. So we have the cost of task. Now we can do something. So add a couple time tracking logs just so we can have some numerical values. You can go in here and either, I wouldn't start the timer, I'd actually click in and add maybe a couple hours for each one so we can get some values in here. 3 hours, so let's add a couple hours here. Okay, copying the formula in Zoom, or let's see. Let me know if anyone has trouble there. I know they're having issues with the formula. So once we have that formula, we can go ahead and, has anyone been able to? Has it worked for someone? Oh, Control C thing, okay. Maybe, I would probably just see if you can copy it by back clicking. Okay, so once we have that, we're able to see at a project level, and I'm quickly going to go over this just because I know it's more advanced. since we have the budget, so total cost of billable tasks, where do we get that from? That is a roll-up of how much the task cost. Don't worry too much about the building of this. The point is I'm really trying to show you how you can create these visualizations. And it does take some time to learn the formulas and that stuff. But what I'm aiming for here is for you to be able to see the dashboard on how you can create these visualizations. So this cost of billable task is allowing me to sum how much the task and how much each cost. And I'm happy to share the solution template with everyone, just in case. Let's actually do that since I added a couple. Want to make sure everyone can revisit this if they need to. So I'll put this in the chat. You can download the template. Okay. So now that we have the total cost of billable tasks, we're able to understand, okay, we have a budget and we want to understand how much of the budget is remaining. We can do the budget minus total billable cost of tasks. And that will go ahead and give me the budget remaining. I will go ahead and put this in the chat as well for those of you who are actually putting the formulas in. So this then allows me to create a dashboard like this one. Budget versus budget remaining. So once we have these fields, the objective here was just to show you how it can get pretty complex and how you can create these reporting from a budget standpoint, because I know we had a lot of questions about budgeting. So appreciate you hanging in there with me as we go through some of the more advanced functions. Okay, so a couple questions we have about changing colors. Just to recap on that, go into settings. You can actually have a highlight color, but if you go into settings, you can actually go down here and actually just adjust the colors of these. How do dashboards? Yes, let's actually show you like remain stacked vertically. We can do that. So you can just a stacked bar, you can have a stacked column like vertically that as well. So it just depends on what you're looking for. And we may want to adjust to be like this. Oh, there we go. I'll leave it. I personally think it looks best this way for this visualization. The budget is because we're over budget. There is 2,400 that we're over. That's why. By month or year, absolutely. Instead of by project, we can group by, I don't know if we have a due date right now by month. There we go. So due date by month is how we would achieve that. So instead of group by projects, we just have group by the due date value, and then we can select group by month. So this is actually a pretty powerful feature. If we have a due date value, you can actually just go in and select by year, by quarter, by month, and it does that for you without needing to create a formula. I know we did that earlier, but you actually don't need to do that. Yeah, I don't think you can add multiple group bys, unfortunately. Just one at the time being. Oh, so they don't stack up on top of each other. Yes, so let's actually achieve that right now. Instead of having them be stacked, you can do column chart. Now they're not stacked up on each other. We see budget remaining and budget. So you just go into a standard column chart instead. Okay, so a question about add data labels. You can add a benchmark line, like a chart total up here, but currently no custom lines right now. Interesting question about creating filters and making other widgets update on that filter. We'll probably work on something like that later on. Interesting feature, so we'll definitely keep a note of that one. Is it possible to change to legend names? No, not currently. Not currently, definitely a feature on the roadmap. And then we do have a good question about dashboards working with roles and access. The guest role, you're absolutely right. They will only see records they're assigned to. So even if you have a dashboard assigned with, let's say, all the new projects, they will only see the number of projects they're assigned to. So that's correct. Oh, sharing dashboards. Yes, we're working on the ability to share dashboards like a shared view similar to card and grid view. Plan to add widgets that feature the result of a formula field. That is interesting. We will log that as a request. I haven't heard that one before, but that's interesting. And you sort from high to low. Let's see. Group by. I don't quite know, Brian, if you can maybe let me know if you can. I don't know if we can do that. And maybe in order of the records themselves. So projects assigned to an employee versus a guest. Employee would be like you could set permissioning where this employee would have viewing access if they're an added user. It would achieve the same thing. The difference between employees and actual users is that they can engage with the data, they can edit data beyond just a status field change. So if that's important to you, being able to have them edit data, you can achieve the same thing, meaning they're only able to see things they're assigned to if you want. And that would actually be the assignee permission, not the viewer. So you can go in here and call it the assignee permission. Can view and edit content they've been assigned to. Okay, let's see what else. Print a PDF dashboard, yes. You can actually hit the three dots, you can export as a PDF, and it will go ahead and export the dashboard for you. It's a newer feature. Okay, so question about changing the colors for, let's see, there are a couple more widgets I want to go through just in this one. You can actually embed grid views, something really interesting, and I use this all the time. If you're adding a widget, this is a grid view widget. You select the view type and you customize exactly what shows. You can either allow inline edit, you can either display the toolbar or not. But what I'd recommend is you actually just create exactly the fields you want to show, and then you can embed it there. Let's say we created our two solutions that we're linking and we want to see the visual relationships of it. We can create a data schema. So in this case, we have, as we looked at before, we have the key results linked to the programs. And that's the other solution that we're showing. So this data schema is really interesting to see the progress of your workflows and how they connect. And that can be found by adding a widget, and it's called data schema right there. Okay, let's see what other questions. Print it, potentially maybe a screenshot. Haven't quite explored that myself. If a user has permissions to the table that a dashboard is in, but there are grid views from other applications, yes, they will be hidden. They will show as you don't have permission to access this. So not to worry. That's correct. tasks by assignee chart that has a single legend. Oh, different. Oh, yeah. This one that's going to Camo dashboard. Let's do one grouped by person. So let's create one by person. Let's do projects, project name, group by the project manager. I need to actually go in and adjust the project to be someone else as well. See where I did this. Oh, here we go, by assignee. You can't quite edit the color of each person unless you were to do assign to, that could work. So you can adjust the colors. If you do the value to be assigned to, you can adjust the colors here. So I think that's probably the workaround for you there. Really quick, before I continue answering the questions, when creating a dashboard, I'm actually going to show you a completed one, something that could be interesting for you as you're building. A recommendation for you is to have a similar layout to this with the comparison metrics at the top, with some chart visualizations, and then embedding the central grid views that you use most commonly in your workflows. That could be really helpful. And then creating a dashboard for specific uses. In this case, we have a couple different dashboards. We have a management dashboard. So this is for management to see the overall property status across all of the tables with all of the agents. Now, if we dive into the actual My Sales dashboard, this is filtered based on me, so I can understand what I have to do, the new leads assigned to me, the open transactions by status, the commission by transaction. So I've created a custom dashboard for myself, but management has several different dashboards that they use, and then I have my own personal ones. So this shows the power of being able to filter things based on current user, based on specific things you want to see. And this sales dashboard is anyone's able to access it, and we can create a filter here where the assigned to, let's do agent. Oh, we'll do it in here. Where commission, filter, the agent, and it would have to be an assigned to field, but it could be exactly the current user. So everyone sees this dashboard and it's their own custom dashboard. What can we look forward to? I know I have to check back on that as far as what we're developing in the dashboard side of things. If anyone on my team has any thoughts, feel free to put that in the chat. But I would need to explore more myself. I think we're working on more of an interface view, continuing to develop the specific widgets. I think we may even have a couple new widgets coming out as well, and the ability to do little things like click on view and edit. But I will get back to you, Landon. Direct plugin, that would be more of an integration question. You can do that using Make or Zapier Relay. But we do actually have a native integration with Microsoft Teams. So for example, something happens in SmartSuite, the action could be to send a chat message in the channel. A little bit off topic, but I want to make sure that you get your question answered. So that's the native integration. Question from Patrick about, will the current user function apply to multiple grid views? You have to set the filter per grid view or per widget. So you're going to have to go into the filter and actually create the filter for each one, if that answers your question. A form and a dashboard, that's a very good question. So I have a form set up here. I can actually create, so if I go into share form, I can do two things. So I can either copy the link or I can copy the embedded code. Either one, it works just the same. So right now I'm going to do embedded code. Go into a dashboard, it's going to be what we call a custom code widget. So I'll select custom code here. I'm going to call this the form, and I'll go ahead and paste the HTML there. So right there, I can see the embedded HTML. If I use the URL, I can do that. This is really helpful for situations in which you're doing like a simple project request. In fact, I'm actually going to show you one more. So we have a form here. And in case you aren't familiar with forms, when someone submits a form, it's a very easy way of creating a record. Forms are great from other external users, but it's also helpful for your own team to have a very easy way to input information. So let's go into our do project management. I think I created not here. So forms are embedded using the custom code widget. That's how you do that. Okay, coming down to the end here, I want to thank everyone for joining. I know it was a fast pace, a lot of building, but I appreciate your patience with me and the recording will be sent to you. So you can watch this at your own time. But I really hope today there's so much to cover in dashboards, and we'll likely need to have a follow-up webinar on this just because there's so much that you can do. But I hope that at least this inspired you to start building your own dashboards. And let me know if you have any feedback, or love to know if this session was helpful for you today. Yes, definitely review the video again. I know we moved fast. Thanks so much. I hope everyone has a great rest of your week. And just so you are familiar, we have a lot of webinars coming up. Yes, you'll get a recording sent to your email. It'll always be on YouTube the same day, but do expect a link the next day. So just want to send our link to our upcoming webinars if you're interested in attending more. We do have a live training scheduled for tomorrow if you want to attend, if you're curious and you want to get started on using SmartSuite. Moving a dashboard to moving a dashboard to a different table. Dashboards live as a view type, so you'd actually have to create it again in the table. So views you can't move since the data is different. That's why it's a view type within the table. Yes, the training is going to be a little bit different actually. We're making some adjustments, but I think there's no harm in actually joining again. We may do something different this time. All right, I'm going to go ahead and end the event, but thanks so much everyone for joining. The power of roll-ups. Yeah, we'll have to do a webinar here. Also, let me just send everyone again the link to the solution in case, because I did add a couple things. I know Carlos is curious, but I did add a couple things to it. Oh, you have questions by your own instance. We will definitely make sure you get your questions answered as well. All right, thank you, everyone.